Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So I'd like to welcome each one of you, few of you, many of you, whoever it is, for this session on Bhagavad Gita as part of our journey to the Gita Jayanti, which is on 1st of December, Mokshada Ekadashi. So last class, we spoke about how Bhagavad Gita's knowledge can give us fearlessness. I was mentioning how death in our life is a big disruptor. Hence it brings an end abruptly to everything. And the root cause of all the fears that we have, you may have some other fears, somebody else may have some other fears. The root or the mother of all the fears is the fear of death. And the Vaishnava poet very nicely puts it in those two lines which Prabhupada mentions in the song of Bhajaure Mana Shri Nanda Nandana. In that, those two lines, Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala. Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala, right? Like a drop of water in the leaf of the lotus is tottering. Our existence is in a tottering platform. If you watch closely, the water drop on the lotus leaf, you'll find it's very unsteady, very unstable. It just barely manages to stay on the top of that lotus leaf. If there is a wind or if there is a disturbance on the water, then the drop comes and falls over. So we are seeking permanence in an impermanent world. We are trying to be eternal here in a place which is temporary. That creates fear. And the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita can give us fearlessness, because how it can give us fearlessness, or what is the root cause of the fear? The root cause of fear is bhaya ditya bhiniveshataha, is the investment in ignorance. Because of ignorance of our true position, we are experiencing pain, we are experiencing fear, we are experiencing anxiety. But when we have knowledge, then there will be freedom from the bliss. And there were the verses which I was sharing last time, 2.56, where Krishna mentions about the sage of steady mind, who remains undisturbed amidst happiness and distress, who's free from attachment, fear, and anger. So this equanimity arises from spiritual understanding. This spiritual understanding can give us that power, that state of mind, where we can be undisturbed. And then I spoke about the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter, 30th verse, which is the mode of goodness. Knowing what ought to be done, what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared. So this spiritual practice, like hearing from scriptures, chanting and regulated living, it gradually cures the disease of material ignorance. Right? Much like the jaundice which gets cured by sugarcane juice. Similarly, this may not be palatable at the beginning because of our conditioning, but for sure, the disease gets uprooted from the roots. Right? It may seem bitter at the first instance, but it becomes sweet as we develop the spiritual taste. So, and Krishna promises in the Bhagavad Gita that even a slight progress on this path saves one from the greatest fear. So, neha vikramo nasosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. You're fearful, that's just a little devotional service can protect us from the worst kind of fear. And Prabhupada's assurance is when one takes shelter of the Supreme Lord, he has nothing to fear, even in the greatest calamity. There's nothing to fear in that case. So if in one word we have to summarize, fear ends when the soul awakens. When the soul awakens, there's no question of fear. So what we'll talk today, there's so much to talk, right? And then you have 7 chapters, 7 days, 40 minutes, 30 minutes. In that, something happens, and then the time comes to an end. But to present something which is logical, very logical. See, why we don't embrace Bhagavad Gita? Why we, knowingly this knowledge is available to us, we don't take it seriously? Why we postpone this, even though we may feel at times this is important, or I should try, I should read, but it is not our primal pursuit. It's not our main pursuit in life, because we've got other goals, other aspirations, and other these things, importance, other priorities. And in that also, maybe I should know a little bit about Bhagavad Gita. That's what we feel. So I was just thinking, we will take some 1 or 2 verses of Bhagavad Gita, but just establish the why in our life strongly. Why this Bhagavad Gita is so important? What is it that the Lord is sharing which can make a huge difference in my life? There are many ways to see it. People try to understand or analyze Bhagavad Gita from leadership point of view. They try to understand from psychology point of view. They try to understand in so many different ways. And there are quite, you can see it from different angles. I thought I'll share one angle which might, increase the why inside you, or it will inspire you as to how I should take it very seriously, how it is so important for me. Ultimately, the purpose of Sadhu Sangha is, if we go back inspired and feel that I should enhance my sadhana, I should enhance my reading, I should enhance my spiritual practices, so that I remain fixed on the spiritual platform. That's the goal. So if I ask you, what is the purpose of life? Interestingly, a few days back, there was one person with whom I was interacting, my acquaintance in India, and he was telling he's feeling very happy these days. And I said, why are you feeling happy, and what is it that is giving you happiness? He said he is going for some couple therapy. He's married, they have kids and all, but there were a lot of challenges and a lot of tensions in the family, in the marriage and all, which he was finding it very difficult to handle on his own. So now they have discovered couple therapy, and going to couple therapy, he's feeling happy. This is what he was sharing. But my question to all of you is, what is the purpose of life? Okay, maybe let's start with one step below. There is one instinct which is there in every one of us, right? And that instinct is we all want to live. Not just we doesn't mean only human beings. Even insects, small this thing, you try to stop, you try to do something, they have a survival instinct. It's very basic, isn't it? Everybody wants to live. Everybody wants to survive. They don't want to die. They want to live. Okay, so that's good. So we want to live. That's a very common, this thing is a common ground. Doesn't matter who you are, which part of the world you are from, what faith you are following, which age you are, what nationalities, what gender, whatever it is, we all want to live. Okay, established. But at the same time, if you see, uh, people also like to sleep, isn't it? Is there anybody who denies that I don't like sleeping? Everybody likes to sleep. But even we ask people often this question, how was your sleep yesterday? Did you sleep well? And people ask that. So sleep is pleasurable, all of us we are agreeing. Okay? So sleep is pleasurable, then why don't we sleep forever? I mean, we sleep, we don't get up. But we get up, we like to get up also. It's not like we want to sleep forever. We want to get up, right? If you sleep for maybe 7 hours, 8 hours, or worst case, 15 hours, 16 hours, whatever it is, you sleep, after that you want to get up. So you don't want to sleep permanently, you want to live. You say sleep is pleasurable, there has to be some meaning of life. There is a deeper meaning, there is a purpose behind this life. We want to live. At the same time, there is a pleasure that we are deriving when we are sleeping. There are some people who find this life so difficult, so painful, that they end their life. And if that would have been a solution, then everybody would have committed suicide and would have accepted that this is the best thing. Permanently, we will sleep forever. But committing suicide is a crime. And people want to live, despite the fact that they might be going through some health challenges, crisis, emotional crisis, financial crisis, whatever it is. They want to figure it out, they want to fight it out, and they want to survive, they want to live. I'm not talking anything from Bhagavad Gita. This is natural instinct. All of us, we want to live. We don't want to die. Right? We want to live for good, forever. So if we want to live and we don't want to sleep, we don't want to sleep for a long time, there has to be some purpose. So the Vedic scriptures, if we hear them, they say that the purpose of life is to be happy. Whether you are a female, whether you are a male, whether you are LGBTQ+, whether you are African, American, Indians, whoever you are, everybody's basic instinct is to become happy. Because if you see, there are life forces which exist even outside. Even the scientists are making so much of efforts to elongate, to prolong our life. But long life is not exactly what we are looking for. If that would have been the case, the trees, there are so many other living entities who live for a longer time. And even they have lesser problems compared to us. There is no terrorists. The lions, once in a while, it eats. If it's for one time it kills, then 5-6 days it doesn't kill. So even if you are a small, weak animal in the forest, you don't have to worry about so many things. Life is relatively much simpler there. Right? So it is not the prolonged life that we are looking at. We are looking to live life, and we want to live life happily. Happiness is what is making life interesting. If no happiness, who wants to live life in this way? So all of us, we want to live life. We want to live life and don't want to end life, don't want to die, and we want to live life happily. Now the fundamental question comes is, how can I become happy? What is it that I should do so that I can become happy? This is where the equation goes wrong. Most of us, we think we can be happy by having a lot of money. That's what we think. That is what the whole society gears us up, and we feel if we have a lot of money, more money we have, then we will be happy. And this is the biggest illusion. This is the biggest illusion. Why? We'll break it down and we will see how it is not. So imagine you have some money and you aspire to have more money. So you have X and you want to have Y, and Y is far higher than X. And you feel if you possess Y amount of money, you will become happy. Now find out anybody in this world who has got that much of money, Y, and check with him if he's happy. Actually, there are many rich people, millionaires and billionaires, who are so empty inside them, they commit suicide. The first and foremost understanding that needs to dawn is, happiness doesn't lie outside, it's an internal phenomenon. If you want to become happy, it is a state of mind which can be attained which most people don't get that. They feel, no, the equation they're putting it as happiness is equal to money. I want to become happy, I can only become happy by having a lot of money, which is a biggest illusion, myth. And why are they not getting it? Because their minds are always disturbed. So in the Bhagavad Gita verse, Krishna says, asantasya kuta sukham. If your mind is always restless, if your mind is fickle, how will you experience happiness? No matter who you are, how much of possessions, how many things are there at your disposal, mind is restless, you can't experience. Like, he's addressing the roots. And since the mind is undisturbed and is not peaceful, whichever situation you are, you may be, you're king, the son of a king, born to a royal family, access to all kinds of wealth, influence, everything, still you'll not be happy. There is this is the biggest illusion, where, people think, I was thinking of something, I got distracted. The biggest illusion is that people think that, with having a lot of money, they'll be happy. There are many examples of millionaires and billionaires who had a lot of money. There was one famous example of, there was a movie also, which was made on that person. The movie name was Aviator. This person was so paranoid in his life that after having so much of money, he was still worried that, he will get contaminated by some viruses, and because of those viruses, he'll have some disease. So he would not stay in his house. He will have some extra, like, what is that? OHCD? That obsession with cleaning? OCD. So obsession with cleaning, and he'll have so many people to come and clean. The plate has to be cleaned. I forgot his name, whatever his name was. And then he would stay in some hotel, not stay in the same hotel, in different places. Wasted all his money, and finally he died in some kind of, and he'll wash his feet many times, he'll wear socks. Actual true story of a person who has got so much of money. Just having money is not going to give us happiness. That's the biggest illusion, myth. So what exactly people do with the money? What they do is, with the money, they buy some items, right? And they buy items, and with those items, they feel they will become happy, because they will use it for gratifying their senses. This is the second biggest illusion, that when we gratify our senses, we will be happy. That is also not true. Why? See, if I give you some sugar, and you put it in your mouth, what you will taste? Sweet. Sweetness is the property of sugar. If I give you salt and you put it in your mouth, what it will taste? Salty. So since sugar has got sweetness inherited in it, when you put that sugar inside, you will get sweetness. Similarly, when you put salt, the saltiness is there inside that salt. When you put it in your mouth, you feel salty, right? Like that, happiness doesn't lie in inert matter. This is the truth. Have you seen any table coming and expressing his emotions to you? I'm happy today. Happiness comes from living entity. And there's this, it's a property of a soul. I can be happy if the person is alive, is living. That living, it's a characteristic of a person who's alive. That's the happiness, that's the emotion. But presently what is happening is, in our day-to-day understanding, our lives, we feel we can become happy by coming in a relationship where the person who's, let's say, boy, he's incomplete, he doesn't have full happiness, and he thinks another person, maybe a girl, she's also incomplete. She's thinking, if I come together, then we can become happy. So see, imagine, if I have money, only then I can give you money. If I have happiness, I can give you happiness. But if I only don't have, I'm also searching, the other person is also searching, but we come together and we think we will become happy. It doesn't happen. It's like two beggars marrying and thinking that they'll become millionaire. How will it become? It's not possible. So then what happens? So when they come together, they start seeing faults in each other, and they start having quarrels. They blame each other for the shortcomings, and ultimately who benefits? Couple therapist. Right? All the money goes there, and the person feels happy. So the Bhagavad Gita's pointing is, actually the root cause of our problem is this desire. Now, because of the desire you had in your mind, There is a trouble, there was a difficulty. So you solved that problem by fulfilling that desire and you thought you felt happiness. Imagine a person who doesn't have that desire, he won't have any problem. He would have been happy. Just because you developed a desire, because of the desire came there is a problem, and you worked hard, you tried to solve that problem, and when that problem was solved, that problem is gone, then you experienced happiness. So then what should we do? What is the solution? What is it that we have to, what are we looking for? And what is the message of Bhagavad Gita? The message of Bhagavad Gita is very, very simple. But before even I go and express the message of Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna says, which can actually completely satisfy us. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tatam. Once you experience this, once you attain this, your heart will be filled with that rasa which you are hankering. In so many materialistic ways, in so many futile ways, you've tried in this life, this many things, still you don't get it. Krishna says, if you do this, you'll get it. But before I go there, I wanted to share one very nice story. This is an interesting story. It comes in one of the Upanishads, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. There used to be a person by name Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya was a very great sage. He was living at the time of Lord Ram, and he had two wives. One's name was Katyayani, and the other's name was Maitreyi. In those days in India, in the Vedic culture, they used to have a lot of debates. So they'll have debates, like Nimai Pandit used to have debates and defeat the scholars. Person who used to get defeated humbly will accept his defeat and he'll surrender. Unlike today, where even if the point is crystal clear, the other person, just to prove his point or satisfy his ego, doesn't accept. So that's why one of the symptoms of advancement of knowledge is vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini. And humility naturally comes when you get little bit of even glimpse of transcendental knowledge. Arrogance cannot come there. Anyway, Yajnavalkya was very famous, and he defeated many scholars, and when the scholars get defeated, they give a lot of money, a lot of wealth to Yajnavalkya. So Yajnavalkya was a very rich man. So one day he decided, enough is enough. I lived this material life for a long time. Now it is time to go and do japa. I should retire. So he was preparing himself to go for his japa retreat. And then at that time, he thought, I should do something for my wives. Because they've been there with me for a long time, served me nicely. I should distribute my wealth equally between two wives. So he put this proposal before both of them and said that I have all this wealth, money I'm going to divide this into two parts. Out of these two wives, Maitreyi was very intelligent, spiritually very intelligent person. So she came to Yajnavalkya and said, my dear husband, I'm very happy that you have decided to take sannyas. Generally, wives don't say like this, right? Imagine if somebody comes and says, I'm very supportive of this. So Yajnavalkya was happy. He said, okay, great. I have one request. I don't need any wealth. My share also, you give it to Katyayani. So really, when it comes to distribution of wealth and property, people fight till the last penny. He was shocked. Are you sure you don't want anything? He said, yes, I'm very sure. I'm 100% sure I don't want it. I don't want that wealth, but I want to know something else which is inspiring you to give up this and go. Generally, imagine you have some car or some house. You won't just drop it off somewhere and say that I'm giving it up. Unless you get some new car from somebody is gifting you, something is happening, some new, this thing is there, then you say, it is now old. You give it up and then you take a new one. So she, being a very intelligent lady, asked her husband, I want to know that spiritual wealth that you are pursuing, I want to take part of that. So Yajnavalkya was very happy, felt very, very happy. Said, oh, really? Then I'll share the knowledge that I am trying to pursue. And he says a very beautiful verse. The verse is, it was a big verse, but what he says was, Nava are pratyuhu kamya patihi priyo bhavati atmanastu kamya pati priyo bhavati. It's a very hard to digest what she says, but when you hear the commentary, you will understand how beautiful it is. So he's telling Nava are patyuhu kamya pati priyo bhavati atmastu kamya pati priyo bhavati. Saying no wife loves her husband for the sake of husband. They love for their own self. So maybe a difficult pill to chill, but a difficult pill to swallow, but that is what he says. But the Acharyas give commentary that no wife loves her. So because she's asking this question, I want to take part of your other wealth. So Yajnavalkya is explaining this. Saying no wife takes pleasure, no wife loves her husband for the sake of husband, but for her own self. And this self is different, SELF. Right? The self is not about the body, it's the Atma. Okay, and the other way of seeing it is, how Yajnavalkya puts it is, no one loves her husband for the sake of husband, but rather for himself, for herself. So the wife loving the husband, there is a self. The husband also has a self. What he's saying is, as long as the spirit soul is there in the body of the husband, the wife is loving. As soon as the soul leaves the body of the husband, the dead body is no more attractive. This point, when he shared, and he made this point very clear to Maitreyi, saying that anything that you see, any living entity which is attractive, know that it is because of the presence of the soul. And the Lord himself says, Aham Atma Guda Kesho. Oh Krishna, when he is explaining all his vibhuti, all his opulences in 10th chapter, he says, Aham Atma Guda Kesha. I am actually the spirit soul in the living entity. That is me. That is why Krishna is all attractive. When in a relationship, a person is able to see the divine presence of the Lord, then there is attraction. And when that is gone, then there is quarreling, and there is fighting, and there is misunderstanding. Anything, any spark that we see, as I said, there is no happiness, there is no attraction in a material object. It comes from a living force. And anything that we see, know it for sure that this Krishna's presence. So, in our life, when we develop love for the Lord, who's completely satisfied, he's not dependent on us. He's self-sufficient. There's no condition in his love. And when our heart gets filled with that love for the Lord, completely imbued, saturated, soaked, then there's no question of begging from anywhere else in this material world. But how do you develop that love, and why, and how? What is the process? That process Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. He is the source of love, and that source of love, if you want to take part of, if you want to get that love in your life, if you want to experience that bliss that you deserve, which you are hankering, the process is the process of bhakti, which Krishna reveals. Once one gets that, once one experiences that, he is unaffected by this. That is the power of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna personally speaks to Arjuna. How do you develop this relationship with me? Because of our forgetfulness of our true position, because of Gyan, because of ignorance, because of identifying ourselves with the body, we are busy making adjustments in this material world with our bodily relationships and requirements, and are stuck. And that is what is called Karpanya Dosha. When the soul awakens, understands its true glorious position, re-establishes its relationship with the Lord, the heart becomes filled with joy. The heart becomes filled with complete satisfaction, the bliss. That is what is this human life meant for. That is what is this human life is all about. And the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita helps us to establish that. Right? So there are ways and means by which one can achieve that, but the lethargy or the ignorance always holds us back. Like when I was mentioning during Kartik meditation, when Prahlad was asked by his father Hiranyakashipu, what is your favorite subject or what is the best thing that you have done? He spoke about Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. That was the second time when he was asked like that. First time when he was asked, he said, Tat sadhu manye asura varya dehina sada samudigna dhyam asadgrahat. Tat sadhu manye tat sadhu manye asura varya dehina sada samudigna dhyat asadgrahat. People are always anxious, full of anxious. Why? Because they're looking for permanence in the temporary world. Sada samudigna dhyat asadgrahat. Because of this false identification, the false hope of receiving love. Actually, one way of achieving happiness is through material acquisitions, and the other one is through loving relationship. But the loving relationship that we are looking or seeking in this material world is all incomplete, and it will be severed in the due course of time. It's only when we develop that relationship with the Lord, understanding our true position as spirit soul, we'll experience that bliss, that happiness that we are hankering and we deserve. Once that heart is filled with that, it will be unaffected by this material reversals and difficulties. That is the message of Bhagavad Gita. That is the power of Bhagavad Gita. That is the blessing of Bhagavad Gita actually. Very powerful, the message. Since we have 5-10 minutes to go, and something else to share, but I'll pause and see if you have any questions or anything that you want to ask. Fundamental questions are nice, yes. Happiness is experienced when your mind is in a steady state. The steady state of mind is called happiness. So it's interesting because the question that you asked, you see, the soul has no way of interacting with the material world. Soul is covered, like the covering, gross covering we can see, which is in the form of body, made up of 5 gross elements. There are things which we can't see, which is inside, like our mind, intelligence, false ego, right? So when the senses, how do we acquire knowledge or how do we acquire happiness in this material world? When the senses come in touch with sense objects. Like for example, tongue is a sense organ. The taste sense is there in the tongue when it touches the palatable thing. Not the tongue is physically coming in touch with that. The senses, the sense of taste which is present in the tongue is making us feel or realize that taste. For example, eyes. I have 2 eyes. They are organs. But the sense of seeing is one only. Through these 2 eyes, I'm seeing only one thing. I can't see one here and I can't see 2 simultaneously I can do. So the sense of acquiring the knowledge through our different senses, it goes to the mind where the processing happens. So mind acts as an interface between the soul or the Purusha and the Prakriti. So the mind, when it is disturbed, when it is agitated, you can never experience happiness. So when the mind comes to a steady state, and the mind comes to a steady state when it is close to the soul, the nature of the soul. Otherwise, material world is fluctuating, it is constantly changing. There's day and night, the seasons are changing, everything, our bodies are changing, everything is changing. So it's a constant change, it's a flux of constant change. And when the mind goes there, closer to that material side, it is always disturbed. There are ripples. So happiness cannot be experienced. So the steady state of mind is what is called happiness as per the Vedic scriptures. So meditations help. Mind absorbed in Krishna helps. Then you experience genuine happiness. Not some promise, not some shadow or glimmer of happiness. Real, genuine bliss you experience. So you see, the state of desirelessness is something which is promoted by the Buddhist people. They talk about nirvana. They say the root cause of problems is desire. And when the desires are completely gone in our this thing, then our life is blissful, which is very tough. You can never become desireless. Very difficult to come to that state. Nirvana means there is no materialistic desires or materialistic pursuits. That's what literally the word nirvana means. But in our Vaishnava philosophy, what we say is, it is not bad to have desires, but it is important to purify those desires. Instead of having desires to gratify your senses, instead of having desires to enjoy independent of Krishna, use it in His service. When you engage those desires in service of the Lord, you become completely satisfied. It's not like you're serving and you become a subservient and then there is no this thing. You're just serving and He's taking all the rasa. No, the moment you do that, in reciprocation, your heart will be filled with the bliss that you have been hankering after. So it is just changing those desires or, purifying those desires. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasovarjyam rasopyasya param drushtva nivartate. We've all been conditioned to experience one kind of happiness outside world when the senses come in touch with the sense objects. And that doesn't die. I mean, if you say somebody that you stop doing because, desires are the root cause of problems, very difficult. So what Bhagavad Gita is telling, you develop a higher taste. You experience something which is far superior, which you have not experienced so far. By engaging in devotional service, then naturally you'll give it up. If you have like puris, halwa, sabji, paneer, pulao, all these things in one side and one stale chapati and one basi sabji from 10 days, you won't even look at it. Kaun lena hai isko? That is what will happen by engaging in devotional service. Are you coming here for the first time? Oh, really? Okay. Do you have any questions? Anything? You can repeat anything if you liked, or just this thing. Where do you live? Westport. Anything that struck you?
You mentioned one thing about the husband and wife. Loves the husband for the sake of herself. But there are some cases when a person passes away, right? A partner passes away. You still love the person. It's not just the body love.
So you see, the context is important, which I was talking about, because she didn't want to have the wealth. She wanted to have the wealth of the wealth of wisdom, which Yajnavalkya had. So in that connection, he was telling that the wife loves the husband because there is a self present in that husband. So he's not looking at the surface, not looking at the bodily this thing to get attracted. Because the soul is present in the body of that husband, he's attractive. This is what he was trying to point out at him. Anything that looks attractive to us, remember inside that there is the life force. That is why the attraction is there. Like I was mentioning, happiness is a property of a living entity, not of a dead object. Right? Same person, when the soul leaves the body, you don't want to keep that body with you for anything. Even if he is your most beloved and most this thing, you don't want to. So the importance of explaining the difference between body, the inert matter, and soul, life force, he gives that example. So it's an analogy which I'm sure, there are people who love people beyond their death and so on and so forth. That's a different thing. But here he was trying to evaluate and tell her, what you are saying is absolutely correct. Because this wealth, all these inert things, they'll all lie here. They are after all not so important. It's understanding the spirit soul, which makes a person attractive, which makes a person, anybody who's outside also, if they have got knowledge, if they've got renunciation, if they've got money, if they're attractive, if they're powerful, then we generally get drawn. That is what exactly is the position of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. He's all powerful. He's all knowing. He's all beautiful. He's all famous. He's all renunciant. All these 6 characteristics are simultaneously present. He's the source from where all these sparks are coming, which is making us attractive to somebody or something. So if you develop a relationship with the source, you'll be completely satisfied. That's the point. Any other question? Anything? So Bhagavad Gita is a treasure house actually. If you enter into a treasure house where there are so many attractive things, jewelries, gems, diamonds, gold, you may get confused as to what to pick. But instead of just worrying about what to pick first, whatever you are seeing, whatever is looking attractive to you, pick it up and try to keep it and see how it can help you. It is a knowledge which is meant to awaken our true self, which is dormant. And because of that dormant, because of the sleeping state, because of the covering of ignorance, we do all kinds of wrong things. The root cause of that is ajnana, as Kunti Maharani puts it very nicely. Bhavesmin klishyamananam abidya kama karmavi. We are doing action to become happy. That's the goal. That is very clear. But not knowing, we are ending up doing wrong things, and because of those wrong things, we are getting bound. How did this wrong thing came? He's saying because of desire, avidya kama. Okay, how did I get this wrong desires? Because of ignorance. So root cause is because I have got this ignorance about my own self, because of the ignorance about the Supreme Lord, because of the ignorance about the meaning of life, I have got wrong desires, and to fulfill those wrong desires, I'm doing those activities, and I'm getting bound, and this world appears very difficult to live. So if you remove the ignorance, you have the transcendental knowledge, then your desires are different, your actions are different, result is different. That is what Bhagavad Gita is saying to us. Thank you all for coming and hearing. We'll continue to see this as we go further. Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.